I'm Pat. This is Pat's personal portrait. The portrait is of him, Dr. Marwan Sabbagh. Your official title now, I mean, your card weighs 37 pounds, for crying out loud.
Yes,
You're a neurologist where?
I'm a neurologist and the director of the Banner Sun Health Research Institute in Sun City, Arizona.
In Sun City, probably not a lot of active NFL players.
No, but people who, around Western Phoenix and the West Valley, there are a lot of retired NFL players.
And when we hear the tragedies, the recent tragedies, Junior Seau, Dave Dorson, when we hear about the suicides and we hear about the dementia and we hear about the follow-up to remarkable careers, I wonder if you can explain what's going on in their brains with the impact that goes on with a professional football player, say after 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah, so clearly we're starting to understand the cumulative effects. We've clearly understood when you have a significant one-time brain injury, what that looks like. But now we're starting to appreciate what is a cumulative, low-level, repeated concussive type injury does to the brain. And we're starting to realize that it actually has what we call a shearing injury, where it's starting to cut the brain cells, literally shear them or cut them in a way that starts to break down the connections, in particularly an area of the brain called the frontal lobe. And that's why you start to see a lot of behavioral problems, mood problems, and part of it in the memory problems. But it's only recently that we understood that it's about the cumulative effects.
If there was a video camera inside a football player's skull or a professional fighter's skull with that similar impact,
right,
what would I be seeing as a concussion takes place?
Yeah, so what we're going to see is the mechanical changes, what we call coup contra coup, where literally the brain, the head skull is going this way and the brain's going in the opposite direction. There's literally and then rotation of the brain. The brain's in a box. It should not be moving. And when you're having the skull going in one direction, the brain going the other direction, that is not good for the physical structure of the brain. And then at the cellular level, when you start to drill down lower than the structural level, you start to see real damage to occur.
A boxer has virtually no protection at all. But a football player has all those pads, has the helmet. Is there anything that can prevent the kinds of concussions that are going on now in the NFL?
That's a very controversial question, Pat, because the really issue is that a lot of people are very divided, very passionate about this. So NFL doesn't believe it's an issue as much as the players do, and clearly the cacophony of people who are injured are starting to get louder and louder. But we are starting to appreciate the fact that the changes are cumulative, and that eventually we're going to have to do something to change the game. What you ask me is, can we make the game safer? Can we make the helmet safer? Can we reduce the cumulative effects? That is not, we don't know. Can I design a better helmet? We don't know. But it's the nature of the game that induces the kind of injuries that we're seeing.
You have two sons. Would you allow either or both of them to play college football?
It's a thing I thought about since the day my two boys were born. I will say, as a neurologist and as a memory neurologist, they have never gotten on any vehicle, bicycle, skateboard, skate, anything that they didn't wear a helmet. So number one safety issue is wearing protection. And you're starting to see that kind of awareness kind of filter up through the system, particularly at the high school and college levels. They're really starting to emphasize and drill down safety, mainly because of some consensus guidelines recommending it. But I will say to you, I would think carefully about the idea of having my children play college football, although I understand the appeal. It's a hugely appealing opportunity for a lot of young people.
In the limited time that we have, let's talk about your specialty, Alzheimer's disease.
Yes.
Deep probe, deep brain stimulation, wires and electrodes going into specific areas of the brain. Is that going to make a difference when it comes to Alzheimer's disease?
That's a great question, and a question that's actually being answered right now in Phoenix at the Good Samaritan Hospital. What we have found out is that deep brain stimulation has been a treatment for over 10 years, actually up to 15 years, as a treatment for Parkinson's disease and tremor. But it turns out serendipitously that other conditions are being looked at, depression, and mood issues have been looked at for deep brain stimulation. And then one day, a surgeon happened to put the probe into an area of the brain that's responsible for memory, and when they turn it on, the person could remember better, and that has prompted investigators to look at whether it could be used to treat Alzheimer's disease. We're way off. We're still years away before we can answer that question, but it's an interesting idea.
You're optimistic?
I'm optimistic that we're going to turn Alzheimer's disease from a terminal disease as you know it and I know it to a chronic disease like we would diabetes in a way that allows us to have a positive and meaningful impact in people's lives.
Aren't you glad he's one of ours among the many outstanding medical specialists that we have here in the Valley of the Sun? It's really getting to be a tremendously important medical center for so many different specialties. Dr. Marwan Sabbagh, the latest in Pat's Personal Portraits.